Hail to thee, blithe spirit, bird thou never wert, that from heaven or near it poureth thy full heart in profuse strains of unpremeditated art.
Higher still and higher from the earth thou springest, like a cloud of fire the blue deep thou wingest, and singing still dost soar, and soaring ever singest.
In the golden lightning of the sunken sun, o'er which clouds are brightening, thou dost float and run, like an unbodied joy whose race is just begun.
The pale purple even melts around thy flight, like a star of heaven in the broad daylight. Thou art unseen, but yet I hear thy shrill delight.
Keen as are the arrows of that silver sphere whose intense lamp narrows.
In the white dawn clear.
Until we hardly see, we feel that it is there.
All of earth and air with thy voice is loud.
As when night is bare, from one lonely cloud, the moon rains out her beams, and heaven is overflowed.
What thou art, we know not.
What is most like thee?
From rainbow clouds there flow not drops so bright to see.
As from thy presence showers a rain of melody.
Like a poet hidden in the light of thought, singing hymns unbidden till the world is wrought to sympathy with hopes and fears it heeded not.
Like a high-born maiden in a palace tower, soothing her love-laden soul in secret hour with music sweet as love which overflows her bower.
Like a glowworm, golden, in a dell of dew, scattering unbeholden its aerial hue among the flowers and grass which screen it from the view.
Like a rose embowered in its own green leaves, by warm winds deflowered, till the scent it gives makes faint with too much sweet those heavy winged thieves.
Sound of vernal showers on the twinkling grass.
Rain awakened flowers.
All that ever was, joyous and clear and fresh, thy music doth surpass.
Teach us, sprite or bird, what sweet thoughts are thine.
I have never heard praise of love or wine that panted forth a flood of rapture so divine.
Chorus hymeneal,
Or triumphal chant.
Matched with thine would be all but an empty vaunt.
A thing wherein we feel there is some hidden want. What objects are the fountains of thy happy strain?
What, fields or waves?
Or mountains.
what shapes of sky or plain?
What love of thine own kind.
What ignorance of pain.
With thy clear keen joyance, languor cannot be.
Shadows of annoyance never came near thee.
Thou lovest,
But ne'er knew love's sad satiety.
waking or asleep, thou of death must deem things more true and deep than we mortals dream. Or how could thy notes flow in such a crystal stream?
We look before and after and pine for what is not.
Our sincerest laughter with some pain is fraught.
Our sweetest songs are those that tell of saddest thought.
Yet if we could scorn, hate, and pride, and fear,
If we were things born not to shed a tear,
I know not how thy joy we ever should come near.
Beyond all measures of delightful sound,
Beyond all the treasures that in books are found.
thy skill to poet were, thou scorner of the ground.
Teach me half the gladness that thy brain must know.
Such harmonious madness from my lips would flow.
the world should listen then, as I am listening now.
that was To a Skylark by Percy Bysshe Shelley.
A very warm live Canon welcome to all of you that are here in an actual theatre in person, hooray. And also welcome to all of you that have joined us at home on the live stream.
Today's programme of poetry comes from the Romantic period, the first half of the 19th century.
I wandered, lonely as a cloud, that floats on high o'er vales and hills, when, all at once, I saw a crowd, a host of golden daffodils, beside the lake, beneath the trees, fluttering and dancing in the breeze. Continuous, as the stars that shine and twinkle on the Milky Way, they stretched in never-ending line along the margin of a bay. 10,000 saw I at a glance, tossing their heads in sprightly dance. The waves beside them danced, but they outdid the sparkling waves in glee. A poet, could not but be gay in such a jocund company. I gazed and gazed, but little thought what wealth the show to me had brought. For oft, when on my couch I lie, in vacant or in pensive mood, they flash upon that inward eye which is the bliss of solitude. And then my heart with pleasure fills and dances with the daffodils. I wandered lonely as a cloud by William Wordsworth.
She walks in beauty, like the night of cloudless climes and starry skies, and all that's best of dark and bright meet in her aspect and her eyes, thus mellowed to that tender light which heaven to gaudy day denies. One shade the more, one ray the less, had half impaired that nameless grace which waves in every raven's tress, or softly lightens o'er her face, where thoughts serenely sweet express how pure, how dear their dwelling place. And on that cheek, and o'er that brow, so soft, so calm, yet eloquent, the smiles that win, the tints that glow, but tell of days in goodness spent, a mind at peace with all below, a heart whose love is innocent. That was She Walks in Beauty by Lord George Byron.
Oh, come to me in dreams, my love. I will not ask a dearer bliss. Come with the starry beams, my love, and press mine eyelids with thy kiss. 'Twas thus, as ancient fables tell, love visited a Grecian maid, till she disturbed her sacred spell and woke to find her hopes betrayed. But gentle sleep shall veil my sight, and Psyche's lamp shall darkling be, when in the visions of the night thou dost renew thy vows to me. Then come to me in dreams, my love. I will not ask a dearer bliss. Come with the starry beams, my love, and press mine eyelids with thy kiss. That was Stanzas by Mary Shelley.
Earth has not anything to show more fair. Dull would he be of soul who could pass by a sight so touching in its majesty. This city now doth like a garment wear the beauty of the morning. Silent, bare, ships, towers, domes, theatres, and temples lie open unto the fields and to the sky, all bright and glittering in the smokeless air. Never did sun more beautifully steep in his first splendour, valley, rock, or hill. Ne'er saw I, never felt a calm so deep. The river glideth at his own sweet will. Dear God, the very houses seem asleep, and all that mighty heart is lying still. Composed upon Westminster Bridge by William Wordsworth.
Much have I travelled in the realms of gold, and many goodly states and kingdoms seen. Round many western islands have I been, which bards in fealty to Apollo hold. Oft have I been told of one wide expanse, that deep-browed Homer ruled as his domain. But did I never breathe its pure serene, till I heard Chapman speak out loud and bold. Then felt I like some watcher of the skies when a new planet swims into his ken, or like stout Cortez when with eagle eyes stared at the Pacific, and all his men looked at each other in wild surmise, silent on a peak in Darien. That was on first looking into Chapman's Homer by John Keats.
And like a dying lady, lean and pale, who totters forth wrapped in a gauzy veil, out of her chamber led by the insane and feeble wanderings of her fading brain, the moon arose up in the murky east, a white and shapeless mass. Art thou pale for weariness of climbing heaven and gazing on the earth, wandering companionless among the stars that have a different birth and ever changing, like a joyless eye that finds no object worth its constancy? To the Moon by Percy Bysshe Shelley.
I ne'er was struck before that hour with love so sudden and so sweet. Her face, it bloomed like a sweet flower and stole my heart away complete. My face turned pale, as deadly pale. My legs refused to walk away. And when she looked, what could I ail? My life and all seemed turned to clay. And then my blood rushed to my face and took my eyesight quite away. The trees and bushes round the place seemed midnight at noonday. I could not see a single thing. Words from my eyes did start. They spoke as chords do from the string. Blood burnt round my heart. Are flowers the winter's choice? Is love's bed always snow? She seemed to hear my silent voice, not love's appeals to know. I never saw so sweet a face as that I stood before. My heart has left its dwelling place and can return no more. That was First Love by John Clare.
It's me, sorry. When we two parted in silence and tears, half broken-hearted to sever for years, pale grew thy cheek and cold, colder thy kiss. Truly that hour foretold sorrow to this. The dew of the morning sunk chill on my brow. It felt like the warning of what I feel now. Thy vows are all broken, and light is thy fame. I hear thy name spoken and share in its shame. They name thee before me, and knell to mine ear. A shudder comes o'er me. Why wert thou so dear? They know not I knew thee, who knew thee too well. Long, long shall I rue thee, too deep to tell. In secret we met, in silence I grieve, that thy heart could forget, thy spirit deceive. If I should meet thee after long years, how should I greet thee? In silence and tears. That was When We Two Parted by Lord George Byron.
It is me, isn't it? Yeah. My heart aches and a drowsy numbness pains my sense, as though of hemlock I had drunk, or emptied some dull opiate to the drains. 1 minute past and Lethewards had sunk. 'Tis not through envy of thy happy lot, but being too happy in thine happiness, that thou, light-winged dryad of the trees, in some melodious plot of beechen green and shadows numberless, singest of summer in full-throated ease. Oh, for a draught of vintage that hath been cooled a long age in the deep delved earth, tasting of flora and the country green. Dance and Provençal song and sunburnt mirth. Oh, for a beaker full of the warm south, full of the true, the blushful hippocrene, with beaded bubbles winking at the brim and purple-stained mouth, that I might drink and leave this world unseen, and with thee fade away into the forest dim. Fade far away, dissolve, and quite forget what thou among the leaves hast never known. The weariness, the fever and the fret. Here, where men sit and hear each other groan, where palsy shakes a few sad last grey hairs, where youth grows pale and spectre thin and dies, where but to think is to be full of sorrow and leaden-eyed despairs, where beauty cannot keep her lustrous eyes, or new love pine at them beyond tomorrow. Away, away, for I will fly to thee, not charioted by Bacchus and his pards, but on the viewless wings of poesy. Though the droll brain perplexes and retards, already with thee. Tender is the night, and haply the Queen Moon is on her throne, clustered around by all her starry fays. But here there is no light, save what from heaven is with the breezes blown through verdurous glooms and winding mossy ways. I cannot see what flowers are at my feet, nor what soft incense hangs upon the boughs, but In embalmed darkness, guess each sweet wherewith the seasonable month endows. The grass, the thicket, and the fruit tree wild. White hawthorn and the pastoral eglantine, fast fading violets covered up in leaves. And mid-May's eldest child, the coming musk rose, full of dewy wine, the haunt of murmurous flies on summer eves. Darkling, I listen, and for many a time I have been half in love with easeful death, called him soft names in many a mused rhyme, to take into the air my quiet breath. Now, more than ever, seems it rich to die, to cease upon the midnight with no pain, while thou art pouring forth thy soul abroad in such an ecstasy. Still wouldst thou sing, and I have ears in vain, to thy high requiem become a sod. Thou wast not born for death, immortal bird. No hungry generations tread thee down. The voice I hear this passing night was heard in ancient days by emperor and clown. Perhaps the self-same song that found a path through the sad heart of Ruth, when sick for home, she stood in tears amid the alien corn. The same that oft-times hath charmed magic casements opening on the foam of perilous seas in fairy lands forlorn. Forlorn. The very word is like a bell to toll me back from thee to my sole self. Adieu. The fancy cannot cheat so well as she is famed to do, deceiving elf. Adieu. Adieu. The plaintive anthem fades past the near meadows, over the still stream, up the hillside, and now 'tis buried deep in the next valley glades. Was it a vision or a waking dream? Fled is that music. Do I wake or sleep? That was Ode to a Nightingale by John Keats.
Tiger, tiger, burning bright in the forests of the night.
What immortal hand or eye could frame thy fearful symmetry?
In what distant deeps or skies burnt the fire of thine eyes?
On what wings dare he aspire?
What the hand dare seize the fire?
And what shoulder and what art could twist the sinews of thy heart?
And when thy heart began to beat,
What dread hand?
And what dread feet?
What the hammer?
what the chain?
In what furnace was thy brain?
What the anvil?
What dread grasp dare its deadly terrors clasp?
When the stars threw down their spears and watered heaven with their tears, did he smile his work to see?
Did he who made the lamb make thee?
Tiger, tiger, burning bright in the forests of the night.
What immortal hand or eye dare frame thy fearful symmetry? That was The Tiger by William Blake.
Season of mists and mellow fruitfulness, close bosom friend of the maturing sun, conspiring with him how to load and bless with fruit the vines that round the thatch eaves run. To bend with apples the mossed cottage trees and fill all fruit with ripeness to the core. To swell the gourd and plump the hazel shells with a sweet kernel. To set budding more and still more, later flowers for the bees, until they think warm days will never cease, for summer has o'erbrimmed their clammy cells. Who hath not seen thee oft amid thy store? Sometimes whoever seeks abroad may find thee sitting careless on a granary floor, thy hair soft lifted by the winnowing wind. Or on a half-reaped furrow, sound asleep, drowsed with the fume of poppies, while thy hook spares the next swathe and all its twined flowers. And sometimes, like a gleaner, thou dost keep steady thy laden head across a brook, or by a cider press, with patient look, thou watchest the last oozings, hours by hours. Where are the songs of spring? Aye, where are they? Think not of them. Thou hast thy music too, while barred clouds bloom the soft dying day and touch the stubble plains with rosy hue. Then in a wailful choir the small gnats mourn among the river sallows borne aloft, or sinking as the light wind lives or dies. And full-grown lambs loud bleat from hilly bourne. Hedge crickets sing, and now in treble soft the redbreast whistles from a garden croft, and gathering swallows twitter in the skies. To Autumn by John Keats.
It's me again. All passions, all thoughts, all delights, whatever stirs this mortal frame, all are but ministers of love and feed his sacred flame. Oft in waking dreams do I live o'er again that happy hour when midway on the mount I lay beside the ruined tower. The moonlight stealing o'er the scene had mingled with the lights of Eve, and she was there, my hope, my joy, my own dear Genevieve. She stood against the armoured knight, she stood against the armoured man, the statue of the armoured knight. Excuse me, I've thrown myself off. She stood against the armoured man, the statue of the armoured knight. She stood and listened to my lay amid the lingering light. Few sorrows hath she of her own, my hope, my joy, my Genevieve. She loves me best when I sing the songs that make her grieve. I played a soft and doleful air. I sang an old and moving story, a rude old tune that suited well the ruin, wild and hoary. She listened with a flitting blush, with downcast eye and modest grace, for well she knew I could not choose but gaze upon her face. I told her of that knight who wore upon his shield a burning brand, and that for 10 long years he wooed the lady of the land. I told her how he pined, and the deep, the pleading tone with which I sang another's love interpreted mine own. She listened with a flitting blush, with downcast eyes and modest grace, and she forgave me when I gazed too fondly at her face. But when I told the cruel scorn that crazed this bold and lovely knight, and that he crossed the mountain woods, nor rested day nor night, and sometimes in the savage den, and sometimes in the darksome shade, and sometimes starting up at once in green and sunny glade, there came to and looked him in the face an angel, beautiful and bright, and that he knew it was a fiend, this miserable knight. And unknowing what he did, he leapt amid a murderous band, and saved from outrage worse than death the lady of the land. And how she wept and clasped his knees, and how she tended him in vain, and ever strove to expiate the scorn that crazed his brain. and that she nursed him in a cave, and how his madness went away when on the yellow forest leaves a dying man he lay, his dying words. And when I reached that tenderest strain of all the ditty, my faltering voice, my pausing harp, disturbed her soul to pity. All impulses of soul and sense had thrilled my guileless Genevieve. The music and the moving story, the rich and balmy eve, and hopes and fears that kindle hope, an undistinguishable throng, and gentle wishes long subdued and cherished long. She wept with pity and delight. She blushed with love and virgin shame, and like the murmur of a dream, I heard her breathe my name. Her bosom heaved. She stepped aside, as conscious of my look, she stepped. Then suddenly, with timorous eye, she fled to me and wept. She half enclosed me with her arms. She pressed me with a meek embrace, and bending back her head, looked up and gazed upon my face. 'Twas partly love, 'twas partly fear, and partly 'twas a bashful art that I might rather feel than see the swelling of her heart. I calmed her fears, and she was calm, and told her love with virgin pride. And so I won my Genevieve, my beautiful and bold bride. That was Love by Sam Taylor Coleridge.
The greatest bliss is in a kiss of love refined, when springs the soul without control and blends the kiss with mind. For if desire alone inspire, the kiss not me can charm. The eye must beam with chastened gleam. That would my soul disarm. What fond delight does love excite when sentiment takes part? The faltering sigh, voluptuous eye, and palpitating heart. Ye fleet too fast, sweet moment last, a little longer mine. Like heaven's bow, ye fade, ye go, too tremulously fine. The Kiss by Charlotte Dacre.
Jenny kissed me when we met, jumping from the chair she sat in. Ha! Time, you thief who love to get sweets into your list, put that in. Say I'm weary, say I'm sad, say that health and wealth have missed me, say I'm growing old, but add, Jenny kissed me. That was Jenny Kissed Me by Leigh Hunt.
I gaze upon her rose-wreathed hair, and gaze upon her smile. Seem as you drank the very air her breath perfumed the while. And wake for her the gifted line that wild and witching lay, and swear your heart is as a shrine that only owns her sway. 'Tis well. I am revenged at last. Mark you that scornful cheek. The eye, averted as you passed, spoke more than words could speak. I now by all the bitter tears that I have shed for thee, the racking doubts, the burning fears, avenged they well may be by the nights spent in sleepless care, the days of endless woe. all that you taught my heart to bear, all that yourself will know. I would not wish to see thee laid within an early tomb. I should forget how you betrayed and only weep your doom, but this is fitting punishment, to live and love in vain. O my wrung heart, be thou content and feed upon his pain. Go thou and watch her lightest sigh, thine own it will not be, and bask beneath her sunny eye, it will not turn on thee. 'Tis well, the rack, the chain, the wheel, far better hadst thou proved, e'en I could almost pity feel, for thou art not beloved. That was Revenge by Letitia Elizabeth Landon.
I was angry with my friend. I told my wrath did end.
I was angry with my foe. I told it not, my wrath did grow.
And I watered it in fears, night and morning with my tears.
And I sunned it with my smiles, and with soft deceitful wiles.
And so it grew, both day and night, till it bore an apple bright.
And my foe beheld it shine, and he knew that it was mine.
And into my garden stole, when the night had veiled the pole.
In the morning, glad I see,
My foe outstretched beneath the tree. That was A Poison Tree by William Blake.
I dreamed that, walking forth one summer's day, I chanced to meet old Time upon my way, and, full of spleen, taxed him with mischief he had done to me, and thousands more beneath the sun, plain to be seen. Blush, blush for shame, said I, to view this face despoiled by thee. Canst thou one line retrace that erst was there? I vow even I myself can scarce recall its heavenly charm, but I'm assured by all old friends that it was dear. Come, thou canst bring it forth again, I know, in pristine bloom. Once more, ere yet I go beneath the sod, present me to myself in finest feather of youth and health, as when the mountain heather I lightly trod. Time seemed not all unwilling to comply, bade me look forth, and I should soon enjoy an apparition. I looked, like morn, slow kindling in the skies, a dawn of rosy cheeks and sunny eyes enriched my vision. Cried I, this is the strangest thing on earth. Two faces here I see, both full of mirth, and one much bolder, and broader too, like peony dispread than mine. When wreathed in curls and garlanded, I looked no older. My children's faces. Time, I did thee wrong. Thou hast made me doubly blooming, glad and strong. Let my light wane. Since stars new risen, my downward path are cheering, and for one radiance now fast disappearing, thou givest me twain. That was Time's Acquittal by Sarah Coleridge.
In early youth's unclouded scene, the brilliant morning of 18, with health and sprightly joy elate, we gazed at youth's enchanting spring, nor thought how quickly time would bring the mournful period, 38. Then the starch maid or matron sage, already of the sober age, we viewed with mingled scorn and hate, in whose sharp words or sharper face, with thoughtless mirth, we loved to trace the sad effects of 38. Till saddening, sickening at the view, we learned to dread what time might do, and then preferred a prayer to fate to end our days ere that arrived. When power and pleasure long survived, we meet neglect and 38. But time, in spite of wishes, flies, and fate our simple prayer denies and bids us death's own hour await. The auburn locks are mixed with grey, the transient roses fade away. But reason comes at 38. Her voice the anguish contradicts that dying vanity inflicts. Her hand new pleasures can create. For us, she opens to the view prospect less bright, but far more true, and bids us smile at 38. No more shall scandal's breath destroy the social converse we enjoy with bard or critic tete-a-tete. O'er youth's bright blooms her blight she'll pour, but spare the improving, friendly hour that science gives at
38.
Stripped of their gaudy hues by truth, we view the glittering toys of youth and blush to see how pale the bait for which to public scenes we ran, and scorned of sober sense the plan which gives content at
38.
Oh, may her blessings now arise, like stars that mildly light the skies when the sun's ardent rays abate. And in luxuries of mind, in friendship, science, may we find increasing joys at
38.
Though time's inexorable sway has torn the myrtle bands away, for other wreaths 'tis not too late. The amaranth's purple glow survives, and still Minerva's olive thrives upon the calm brow of
38.
With eye more steady, we engage to contemplate approaching age, and life more justly contemplate. With firmer souls and stronger powers, with reason, faith, and friendship hours, we'll not regret the stealing hours that lead from 13 to 48. That was 38 by Charlotte Smith. She wrote it in dedication for her friend who remains anonymous. We just know that she was Mrs. and that her name ended in a Y.
They grew in beauty, side by side. They filled one home with glee. Their graves are severed far and wide, over mount and stream and sea. The same fond mother bent at night over each fair sleeping brow. She had each folded flower in sight. Where are those dreamers now? One, midst the forests of the west, by a dark stream is laid. The Indian knows his place of rest, far in the cedar shade. The sea, the lone blue sea hath won. He lies where pearls lie deep. He was the loved of all, yet none o'er his low bed may weep. One sleeps where southern vines are dressed, above the noble slain. He wrapped his colours round his breast, on the blood-red field of Spain. And one, o'er her, the myrtle showers its leaves by soft winds fanned. She faded midst Italian flowers, the last of that bright band. And parted thus they rest, who played beneath the same green tree, whose voices mingled as they prayed around one parent knee. They that with smiles lit up the hall and cheered with song the hearth. Alas, for love, if thou wert all and naught beyond, O earth. That was Graves of a Household by Felicia Hemans.
What way does the wind come? What way does he go? He rides over the water and over the snow, through wood and through vale and o'er rocky height which the goat cannot climb, takes his sounding flight. He tosses about in every bare tree, as if you look up, you plainly may see. But how he will come and whither he goes, there's never a scholar in England knows. He will suddenly stop in a cunning nook and bring a sharp larum. But if you should look, there's nothing to see but a cushion of snow, round as a pillow and whiter than milk, and softer than if it were covered with silk. Sometimes he'll hide in the cave of a rock, then whistle as shrill as the buzzard cock, yet seek him, and what shall you find in the place? Nothing but silence and empty space, save, in a corner, a heap of dry leaves that he's left for a bed to beggars or thieves. As soon as 'tis daylight tomorrow, with me you shall go to the orchard, and then you will see that he has been there, and made a great rout, and cracked the branches, and strown them about. Heaven grant that he spare but that one upright twig that looked up at the sky so proud and big, all last summer, as well you know, studded with apples, a beautiful show. Hark! Over the roof he makes a pause, and growls as if he would fix his claws right in the slates, and with a huge rattle drive them down like men in a battle. But let him range round. He does us no harm. We build up the fire, we're snug and warm. Untouched by his breath, see the candle shines bright and burns with a clear and steady light. Books have we to read, but that half-stifled knell, alas, 'tis the sound of the 8 o'clock bell. Come, now we'll to bed, and when we are there, he may work his own will, and what shall we care? He may knock at the door, we'll not let him in. May drive at the windows, we'll laugh at his din. Let him seek his own home, wherever it be. Here's a cosy, warm house for Edward and me. That was addressed to a child during a boisterous winter evening by Dorothy Wordsworth.
Life! I know not what thou art, but I know that thou and I must part. And when, or how, or where we met, I own to me's a secret yet. But this I know, when thou art fled, where'er they lay these limbs, this head, no clod so valueless shall be, as all that then remains of me. Oh, whither? Whither dost thou fly? Where bend unseen thy trackless course? And in this strange divorce, tell me, where I must seek this compound I? To the vast ocean of imperial flame, from whence thy essence came, dost thou thy flight pursue, when freed from matter's base encumbering weed? Or dost thou, hid from sight, wait, like some spellbound night, through blank, oblivious years, the appointed hour, to break thy trance and reassume thy power? Yet canst thou without thought or feeling be? Oh, say what art thou, when no more thou art thee? Life. We've been long together, through pleasant and through cloudy weather. 'Tis hard to part when friends are dear. Perhaps 'twill cost a sigh, a tear. Then steal away, give little warning, choose thine own time. Say not good night, but in some brighter clime, bid me good morning. That was Life by Anna Letitia Barbauld. Barbauld had an extraordinary body of political work, including rights of women and lots of anti-slavery poetry, which you will be able to hear in 3 weeks' time at Live Canon's show No More, which also features some abolitionist poetry from Wordsworth.
In fact, many of the Romantic poets were more political than we might immediately think. In the generations after Shelley's death, many critics, like Matthew Arnold, dismissed him as a dilettante who wrote beautiful but pointless lyric poetry. But to his own and immediately subsequent generation, Shelley had been a politicised radical. He was thrown out of Oxford for his pamphlet on atheism. He was passionate about reform and better conditions for the working classes. Marx was influenced by some of his early writing. And he was a pacifist. Leo Tolstoy and Mahatma Gandhi were influenced by his writing on non-violent resistance.
Part of the problem is that Victorian editors only published a sliver of what Shelley wrote, deeming his political and socialist writing to be inappropriate. And so much of his work was not revisited until much later in the 20th century.
However, in 2005, a poetical essay on the existing state of things, Shelley's anonymously published anti-war essay, was rediscovered, and the Bodleian Library have digitised it for all to read.
All nature seems at work. Slugs leave their lair, the bees are stirring, birds are on the wing, and winter, slumbering in the open air, wears on his smiling face a dream of spring. And I, the while, the sole unbusy thing, nor honey make, nor pair, nor build, nor sing. Yet well I ken the banks where amaranths blow, have traced the fount whence streams of nectar flow. Bloom, O ye amaranths, bloom for whom ye may. For me ye bloom not. Glide, rich streams, away. With lips unbrightened, wreathless brow I stroll. And would you learn the spells that drowse my soul? Work without hope draws nectar in a sieve, and hope without an object cannot live. Work Without Hope by Samuel Taylor Coleridge.
I am. Yet what I am, none cares or knows. My friends forsake me like a memory lost. I'm the self-consumer of my woes, like shadows of love's stifled, frenzied throes, and yet I am and live like vapours tossed into the nothingness of scorn and noise, where there is neither sense of life or joys, but the vast shipwreck of my life's esteems. Even the dearest that I loved are strange, nay, stranger than the rest. I long for scenes that man hath never trod, a place where women never smiled or wept, there to abide with my Creator, God, and sleep as in childhood sweetly slept, untroubling and untroubled where I lie, below the grass, above the vaulted sky. That was I Am by John Clare.
I wander through each chartered street, near where the chartered Thames does flow, and mark in every face I meet marks of weakness, marks of woe. In every cry of every man, in every infant's cry of fear, in every voice, in every ban, the mind-forged manacles I hear. How the chimney sweeper's cry every blackening church appalls, and the hapless soldier's sigh runs in blood down palace walls. But most through midnight streets, I hear how the youthful harlot's curse blasts the newborn infant's tear and blights with plagues the marriage hearse. That was London by William Blake.
When I have fears that I may cease to be before my pen has gleamed my teeming brain, before high-piled books in charactery hold like rich garners the full-ripened grain, when I behold upon the night-starred face huge, cloudy symbols of a high romance, and think that I may never live to trace their shadows with the magic hand of chance, and when I feel, fair creature of an hour, that I may never look upon thee more, never have relish in the fairy power of unreflecting love, then on the shore of the wide world I stand alone and think, till love and fame to nothingness do sink. That was When I Have Fears That I May Cease to Be by John Keats. We are coming to the end of our show and we have 2 poems left for you today.
Just to say a quick thank you for all of you brave souls who came and joined us actually in a theatre. It's great. And thank you for everyone at home for live streaming in. Thank you.
My days among the dead are past. Around me I behold, where'er these casual eyes are cast, the mighty minds of old. My never failing friends are they, with whom I converse day by day. With them I take delight in weal, I seek relief in woe. And while I understand and feel how much to them I owe, these cheeks have often been bedewed with thoughtful tears of gratitude. My thoughts are with the dead, with them I live in long past years. Their virtues love, their faults condemn, partake their hopes and fears, and from their lessons seek and find instruction with an humble mind. My hopes are with the dead, anon my place with them will be, and I with them shall travel on through all futurity, yet leaving here a name, I trust, that will not perish in the dust. His Books by Robert Southey.
Music, when soft voices die, vibrates in the memory.
Odours, when sweet violets sicken, live within the sense they quicken.
Rose leaves, when the rose is dead, are heaped for the beloved's bed.
And so thy thoughts when thou art gone, love itself shall slumber on. That was Music When Soft Voices Die by Percy Bysshe Shelley.
Thank you. We've been Live Canon.
Thank you. Please, if you've enjoyed the show, do join us next Sunday at 5 p.m. when Leon and a different combination of the Live Canon Ensemble will be back here at 5 p.m. with a sublime programme of sci-fi poetry. So again, you can join us here in the theatre or live streaming at home. Also, if you'd like a list of the poems that we have spoken this evening, there's a pile of them. Thank you, Charlie. There's a pile of them just there on the table. Do help yourself on your way out. Thank you.
After you, love.